What's going on, YouTube? Back. Tonight I'm going to do a recipe, cooking recipe, that I was just kind of scrolling through the, YouTube and just checking out different recipes, this, that, and the other, and come across this one. I'm a big Mexican food lover, and I come across this one. It's called a discado, and I'd heard about it before, kind of. It's basically what it is, in my opinion. I guess you could say it's kind of like, I don't know if this is the right word to use, but it's like a ghetto goulash, Mexican goulash, in my opinion. Basically, what you do is you just get whatever you can. And it's called discado. Basically, it's like a disc. You get this really. What the Mexicans will do is they'll grab a real big disc, and they'll have some kind of a heat source. Usually like some kind of a propane tank, and they'll fire it up, and then they just start throwing everything on it, and anything they can find, and they'll put it on there, and they'll cook it, and they just eat it with some tortillas. I actually tasted it one time. I was at a friend's house, and we were going. He was going to go somewhere. He asked me if I wanted to go with him. I said sure, and we went out to one of his buddies' houses, lived out in the country. And as we were pulling up, I just smelled, some really good aroma. I'm like, oh, they're barbecuing, And as we go and see it, like I said, they had this like 55-gallon drum, and they had a bunch of wood, and this disc on top, and they just started throwing all kinds of stuff together, and put it together and made it. And I'm like, man, this stuff is good. So I said, man, what is this stuff? And he said it's called discado. And so I'm like, okay. So I looked on YouTube, and it's an actual Mexican dish. Now, what I have found out is that there's totally different variations to this dish. What I've done is I've kind of taken some of the basics that normally you'll find when you look up that, and I've kind of added my own thing to it. So basically what it is like I said, it's just a bunch of different stuff. Mainly it's a bunch of different meats. And then vegetables, this, that, and the other. Some sauce, and depending on what region of Mexico you go to, it differs. So what I've done is I've just kind of gone through, and I'm going to actually do my version, what I think would be good. Because I just like to throw stuff together anyways. It's kind of like a poor man's food. Anyways, let's go ahead and start with what I'm going to put in it. First, I've got some chorizo here. Next to it, it's now this seems to be almost like in every one of them is weenies, hot dogs. Next to that, bacon. That seems to be always in it. Next to here, I've got to the bacon, I've got marinated carne asada steak with fajita seasoning in it. That seems to be in it. Ham. I've seen that sometimes with it and without. And pork shoulder. Now I've got pork shoulder there, unseasoned. Next thing I'm going to add my vegetables. I'm going to fry some potatoes in it. So I'll have some potatoes fried, southern style. I've got some mushrooms over there. I've got a couple of serranos I'm going to put in it. I'm also going to have some onions, bell peppers, garlic, and a little bit of tomato, which is already chopped up there. As far as the sauce is concerned, I've got a 8-ounce can of tomato sauce, and I've got some leftover. If you saw my taco recipe video, you know that I used a thing called El Pato sauce. If you want to know what it is, kind of check it out. But I've got some left over, so I'm going to use that. A squeeze of a lemon. I'm going to put a Mexican beer in, and at the end I'll garnish it with some cheddar cheese. So basically, it's a long process. So I went ahead and prepped everything first. And as far as seasonings are concerned, salt, pepper, and garlic, you're going to have a lot of flavor and seasoning from the chorizo. The hot dogs are already, pretty much pre-seasoned. Bacon, it is what it is. The only thing that's not really going to be seasoned in this, as far as the meats are concerned, would be the pork. That's probably going to take the longest to do. So anyways, what we're going to do is I've got 3 pans set up over here because it's a long process. I'm just going to take you through it and kind of show you, little by little how it's put together, and then, show you what it looks like at the end. So I hope you enjoy. Okay, traditionally when this dish is made, it's actually, it's made in a disc, but I don't have that kind of setup, so I'm going to obviously have to go a little bit untraditional as far as cooking it, because normally what they do is they'll actually cook one component, usually it's a meat first, and then they will push it to the side and cook the next meat, so on and so forth, until they got all the meats, and then they, pretty much it's a one, I guess you could call it a one-pot thing. But it's all done on a disc, and so unfortunately I don't have that. So what I'm going to do, because there's so many different components I need to cook to this dish, I'm going to have to cook traditionally in pans. So let's get started with this. So the first thing we're going to do is I'm going to cook the things that I believe it's going to take the longest to cook. So in this pan here, I'm put just a little bit of regular cooking oil. I believe it's canola. And I'm going to start my potatoes, since they'll take a little while. I want these potatoes to be very crispy on the outside, very crispy on the outside, and obviously soft on the inside. So what I usually do when I cook my potatoes is I will go ahead and just put them in a pan with a little bit of oil. Normally I use bacon fat, but since I've got so many other flavors, it really doesn't matter because they're not going to be alone. And I just leave them so they can form a crust. So I am going to season these, so I'm going to put a little bit of garlic powder on here. Next, I'm going to go with a little bit of onion powder on here. Salt. Now, salt obviously depends on how you are with your salt content intake. But yeah, potatoes are bland. So, but because I'm mixing it with a bunch, I won't add too much. Add a little bit of salt. You can always add. You can never take away. And I like a lot of pepper, so I kind of get a little bit aggressive with pepper on my potatoes. And like I said, once I get it going, I won't touch it. I'm just going to let it sit there in a non-stick pan and form a nice little crust on the bottom of it before I turn it. And normally with the potatoes the size that I've got them cut, it usually take about 20 minutes or so to cook. Next I'm going to go ahead in this little skillet over here, because I'm going to start my pork. And this right here, I want to do what they call it almost, but not quite, carnitas style. Basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to cook it. And I don't like a lot of fat in my food, on my meat, but I left some of this fat on, and what's going to happen is I'm just going to let it sit here and cook for a while, and it's eventually I'm going to add a little bit of water, I'm going to let that evaporate, and then all the fat will render off, and it'll get crispy. Now I will go ahead and season this too also. Not too much, because like I said, all these components are going to go together. But I do like to season each layer. But besides the potatoes and the pork, everything else is already seasoned up. With the hot dogs in the ham, the steak, I've already got it, had it marinated for a day and seasoning. So these two right here will definitely take the longest. And but as I'm going, I'm gonna go ahead and do my first meat besides the pork. And I'll go ahead and got this griddle right here. And let's see here. I guess I'll go ahead and do this on the side of the steak. It's been going and it's got a nice heat going to it. And so we'll just go ahead and lay that on there. Let it do its thing, spread it out. Everything's starting to smell good. So we'll go ahead and I'll get this steak here kind of thinned out a little bit. That way it cooks evenly. And like I said, this dish normally is cooked on one component at a time in a big dish, and seems to work very well in the videos I've seen. But I believe just going ahead and doing it this way, even though it's not going to be a true, Discado style. I think it's spelled D-I-S-C-A-D-A, I believe, Discada. It's still going to have the same flavors and the same, the end results. So anyways, go ahead and let those cook for a while. And obviously I'm not going to sit here for the whole time. But we'll come back on when we got this almost done and let you see the next step. Alright everybody. So almost halfway done with everything on the deal. Now the carne asada, being that it's thinner, it's done. And so I'm going to go ahead and take it off the grill. And normally I would go ahead and clean this, but because this has got so much good seasoning on here from the meat, I'll just go ahead and throw my next component on here and let it get done. It's looking really good. As far as the potatoes are concerned, they're starting to get a little bit of color on them. What I normally do is I'll start off on a very high heat and for about 5 minutes, maybe 7 minutes, just to get a little bit of a color on it. Like I said, when I put it in there, don't touch it. And then what I'll do is I'll turn it down to a medium, because now I've got a little color on the outside, but the inside obviously is not done. So what I'll do is I'll just go ahead and, that looks good. Turn it down to a medium low, and then I'll go ahead and let it just cook and get soft in the middle. So let me go ahead and put a little oil on here and throw my ham on here. Now the ham's already obviously cooked. I'm just kind of putting it on here to get a little brown, a little color on it. That's really about it. So, wish it had smell-o-vision, because man, this chicken is smelling really good right now. And so, and the pork right here, as you can see, it's also getting some color on it. But what I want on it is I actually want it to get crispy. So right now, what it's doing is it's frying and it's getting done. If I was to pull this off, it'd probably be done, most likely. But I want it more to be done. I want it to actually be crispy. So I'm going to let it cook a little bit longer. It's starting to get dry. And once it gets dry, I guess you could call it, it'll start forming a crust on the pieces. So, anyway, I'll also, with the potatoes, I added a couple of serrano peppers on it. And so, anyway, let's take another break and come back with the next step. Okay, so ham's done. Like I said, it was already done. I just wanted to get a little bit of color on it. And it's got some very good color on it. And tasted it. And, it's pretty cool with the seasoning on the grill from the carne asada. It really enhanced this ham flavor really good. Sorry with the angle here, we're not being able to see the grill full-fledged. But I'm actually going to be done with this grill, because the next components I'm going to cook, the chorizo and the hot dogs and the bacon, will have to be cooked in a pan. I almost didn't cook this ham on this griddle, being that it's, you know, there's only take me forever to get it off. But I figured I would since I had it out here ready to go and it was seasoned. And anyway, so let me, since I've got it here, like you can take a look, and now this pork is really starting to take on some color. You don't want to rush it. You know, I don't want to burn the outside of the meat and then the inside just not be done. But being that this is boneless, skinless, tenderloin, I doubt that'll happen. I don't want to take a chance. So anyway, I've got that on medium, and the potatoes starting to get more color on them. As you can tell, getting some more color on them, but they're not done yet. They've still got a while to go. So I'm going to go ahead and finish taking this ham off this griddle, and then when I come back again, I'll sort the next components. I'll make sure that the pork is done, all the potatoes, and then we'll go to the next step. And trust me, it's going to be worth the wait when you see the final end results. But anyways, we'll be back with the next step. Okay, taking the pork out, the pork is done. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and put a little crisp on these hot dogs here. You know, the hot dogs and the ham, like I've said before, is already done. I just want to put a crisp and some color on it. Potatoes are looking really good. Best way that I like to do it is I'll take a fork or a knife to test them to see if they're done and kind of push them. If they go in nice and easy, they're almost there. If they got a lot of resistance and they need more time, normally I'll cut my potatoes a little bit smaller, but for this recipe I wanted them to be a little bit bigger to stand up to all the other meats and flavors that we got going on all the other stuff. So I didn't want to make them too small. I didn't want them to be kind of an afterthought. Putting a little canola on those hot dogs. So anyways, these are almost done. And then I think what we'll do next is we'll go with the bacon and the chorizo. I'm going to go ahead and actually, because the chorizo and the bacon are both really fatty, I'm actually going to cook them both together. Normally I would cook them separate, but being that they're both fatty, they will go ahead and cook in their own fat and crisp up, and then I can go ahead and scrape off the fat and have just the chorizo and the bacon by itself. So when we come back, the hot dogs will be out of the pan. I'll probably go ahead and when I get those out of the pan, I'll saute the vegetables that I have, and in this pan here where the potatoes are in, I'll go ahead and start cooking the bacon and the chorizo, and we'll go from there. Okay, so now I got those other things done. Now we're going to go ahead and add the bacon in. And the chorizo. Normally, like I said before, I will go ahead and normally cook my bacon off first, and because I love to use the bacon fat when I cook the potatoes, you know, we all know bacon fat makes everything better. But because it's just, like I said, this is a long process. I didn't want to take too much time doing that, so it's going to have so much bacon flavor in it anyway, so it's not going to matter. I try to make it as much equal parts meats and ingredients as I can, because I don't want one to overpower the other. You know, I don't want it to be, you know, when you taste this, you know, you're tasting more chorizo than you're tasting, you know, bacon or carne asada, or you know, whatever it may, you know, whatever meat it is. So I try to go ahead and portion out the meat as even as possible. So right now I've got the bacon and chorizo cooking. Now this pan over here, add a little bit of vegetable oil to this one. And I'll start sauteing my vegetables. First thing I'm going to go ahead and do is got some mushrooms here. I'm going to put a little bit of color on that. And then I'll do my next ones. So, as you can tell, I've got two types of chorizo here. To be honest with you, I actually started off with the tube, I guess you could call it, the tube style chorizo. That's what I was going to go with. But as I was going to the store, because I needed a few other ingredients I had forgotten, I saw this really good store-made chorizo. And what I have found in the chorizos is that there are, for people who know about chorizo, there's different styles of chorizos. As far as, normally it seems like the chorizo that you find in the store, the just mass-produced one, I guess you could call it, when you cook it, it's real greasy. Now, if you go to a specialty store, Mexican specialty store, like my job takes me all over. So when I'm in Texas, they got a few good Mexican specialty stores there that I try to go to, and they have some really good tube. It's tubed, but it's made fresh. So when you cook it, it's almost like a sausage. You know, very little fat. Then you've got this kind here I bought that was in a package that they've actually, you know, made it with ground pork and this. So when you cook it, if you actually patted it out or something to that effect, it would almost be like a regular breakfast sausage. So I'm using both. Like I said, I originally intended to get use just the tube, but because I found this great store-made chorizo, I'm going to go ahead and use both of them. And I've got about a pound and a half of bacon, I believe. Can't remember because I buy it in bulk, so. But I want to say it's about a pound and a half of bacon and a pound and a half of chorizo. So anyways, this is going to take a while. And so what I'm going to do next, these are, like I said, I don't need to really get these super done. Just want to soften them up, get a little bit of color on them. And then I'll saute my other vegetables, which are the bell peppers, the onion, tomato, and the garlic. And we'll be back. Okay, I've taken out the mushrooms. Now, put in my vegetables, my other vegetables now. As you can tell, the chorizo and bacon, like I was saying, if you could take a look here, there's quite a bit of fat in this, between the bacon and the chorizo. So what's going to happen first, it's almost going to be like it's boiling. And until I can get all this fat rendered off, then it'll start crisping up the bacon, and that's how I like it anyways. I don't want my bacon to be soggy. I don't know, well, not soggy, but just, I like it crispy and not just, you know, not all the way crispy. So, this right here is probably definitely going to take a while to do. So, I'll just stir it every now and then, make sure she's not sticking to the bottom, which she shouldn't, because I've got a pretty good non-stick pan here. Just kind of break up the pieces. Would like for it to be kind of fairly small due to the fact that all the other meats that I've got are chopped very small except for the pork. But I'm going to go ahead and chop that up once I've got it cooked. I'm going to go ahead and chop it up a little bit smaller so it's not real big chunky pieces. And with the vegetables here, just use your normal seasonings, like I like to use salt, pepper, onion powder, garlic. Uh, in the Mexican terminology, this actually would be called a sofrito. And the peppers and the onions. And so basically what I'll do is I'll just go ahead and cook these until they're translucent, soft. Not looking for, a lot of color on it. Just want to soften them up. Don't want them to lose their texture. Just gonna, like I said, just saute them up nice and small, nice and slow. And next time I come back, I'm gonna put it all together and show how it looks like. Bacon will be done. The bacon and the chorizo mixture will be done, and then I'll go ahead and put it all together and show you what it looks like, and then we'll do a taste test because this is my first time making it. But how can you go wrong with all the ingredients we got? So when we come back, we'll go ahead and put it all together and assemble it. Alright everybody, we're back. So it took a while. Like I said, it takes about, in total it takes, in order, I guess I could have went ahead and cooked them separate, and it may have possibly saved a little bit of time, but I really don't think so, because depending on how you like your bacon and your chorizo. So anyways, it took about 25 minutes or so to get this to where I wanted it. So anyways, I went ahead and drained off the excess grease, and there was quite a bit of it. I don't need it due to the fact that everything's just going to be so full of flavor. I just really don't need it. So anyways, so here it is. Here's the bacon and the chorizo, nice and crispy. And now I'm going to go ahead and start adding everything together here. So the first thing we'll go ahead and I'll put in are the potatoes. So here's the potatoes. Also make sure you turn your fryer down on low because everything is already cooked up. So obviously when I put the sauce in here, or make the sauce, it's just a matter of time, it's just warming up. Next thing I've got is I'll go ahead and add the mushrooms. So there's the mushrooms. Next, got the hot dogs here. Got the ham. Like I said, I try not to season everything because I like the salt, because hot dogs and the ham, they're already cured salty, so try to just lighten up on stuff. Next is the pork. And like I said, I chopped it up. It was in pretty big pieces. I went ahead and chopped it up smaller. Go ahead and stir this up real quick. It's looking good already. It's just like a mishmash of everything, but tell you what, looks like it's just amazing as far as flavors are concerned, because everything brings its own little flavor to the party, I guess you could say, and one doesn't overpower the other. All right. Anyways, let's go ahead and get the vegetables in here. Basically, just sweated them down. Like I said, I didn't want a lot of color or anything on them. Let's go ahead and get these in here. And just to review, that's bell peppers, red and green bell peppers. A little bit of tomato. You don't have to have the tomato on there if you don't want. Onion. And I think I got about four medium cloves of garlic in there. You can obviously add or not, being that you have a lot of other flavors if you don't want to, but I like garlic, so I put it in there. So right now, everything's looking good. You could actually, if you wanted to, you could just get you a couple tortillas here and make you a little taco if you wanted to. But I'm going to go ahead and, there's two styles. I guess I didn't know if I told you. Discada is what it's called. there's a dry version, which is almost pretty much what I've got here right now. You know, you just got your meats and some vegetables, and then you just get your tortillas and start eating. And then there's a one that has a sauce to it, which is where I'm going to go ahead and lean towards right now. So I'm going to go ahead and get my sauces here. Nothing major. Got the tomato sauce here. Put that in there. Then the El Pato sauce, which is left over from taco night. And then the beer. This is what I'm going to do now. Obviously the alcohol will go ahead and cook out, but the flavor will be there. And I'll put a lid on it and let everything just marry together, get all the flavors of the beer and tomato sauce and the pata sauce together, and let it marry with all the other flavors that we've got going on. I mean, this is definitely not a dish that's going to be lacking in flavor from the chorizo, the bacon flavor, and you know, the jalapeno or the serranos that we've put in here. So you're definitely gonna, it's definitely gonna be full of flavor. So anyways, we'll let this here cook here for a few minutes, let it simmer, and when I come back. Hi folks, sorry about that. I've had some difficulties with my camera here. I don't know what's going on with it, but let's hopefully I'm not repeating myself for the third time here. But anyways, basically I've put everything back in here together in one pot. All the meats and the vegetables are in there. The ham, the pork, the steak, carne asada, the hot dogs, the ham, and the chorizo and the bacon, the potatoes, and the peppers, the sofrito, the peppers, onions, the serranos, garlic. Now I've added also the chef's got to always have one too. Added the beer to it. Added one bottle of, I believe it was 12 ounce, yeah, 12 ounce bottle of beer, Mexican beer, amber beer. 1 can of tomato sauce, and the leftover, I guess you could add, it's 8 ounce can, and 1 can of El Pato sauce. Maybe been a little bit less because I had some left over. Anyway, so now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and let that alcohol cook out here. Oh, also I put mushrooms up, so I don't know if I told you that. Anyways, I'm going to let it cook here for a few minutes. Let it simmer down, let all the flavors marry together really good. And then we'll go ahead and plate up some a little bit. You know, assemble it and see what it looks like, and then we'll taste it and see what it does. So we'll be back. Alright everybody, we're back. Going to do our final assembly here of our Discata concoction. And what I did is I went ahead and just you can use a what they call a comal or a griddle, I guess you could call it, to char your tortillas or to warm your tortillas up. I got corn tortillas. You could use corn or flour, but traditionally it's usually corn. I actually just went ahead and put these on the burner because I kind of like the little char flavor you get from it. And so I'm going to go ahead and plate up a couple. Normally, like I said, there's no fancy way to serve this. Normally, it's usually when it's made, it's usually made just for kind of like family style. So there's no. But I guess you could add anything you wanted to it, as far as, you know, accoutrements. But me, I'm just going to got the mixture here. I'm going to use some Mexican cheese here. Put a little bit on top of each one. And go in for the taste. So I'm going to go for the taste and let you know what it tastes like, honestly. That tastes really good. Like I said, you don't have a flavor one more than the other as far as a predominant flavor, one meat or the other. It's really good. With the pasta sauce and serranos, it gives it a little bit of heat. It's very good, you know, for what it is. I've just like I said, I've tried it once before, and I've seen the videos, and I was really just really anxious to try it myself, and I did. And it's a lot of work. It's a labor of love, a lot of prep work, and I guess if you do it the original way, you do it to where you cook it all on a disc. That's why it's called discata. But you can still make it here at the house if you want to. And let's pan over to the actual final product and what it looks like. And that's it right there. And it's really tasty. And I'll be chewing on this and munching on this for a few days. So anyways, YouTube, thank you once again for watching one of my videos. Just please go ahead and please subscribe and like if you like what you see. If you've got any suggestions for any future recipes that you'd like for me to try, go ahead and put some in the comments down below. Until next time, peace out.